Oh man, did she like get abducted by aliens or something? It's absolutely freaking ridiculous. Wow, I wonder what it could have possibly been. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Katie, and for those of you who don't know me, I used to weigh 360 pounds, and I've lost 180 pounds and kept it off for years now. And on this channel, we will discuss weight loss, weight maintenance, nonsense I see online about body positivity and fat acceptance, my experiences with all of that, and well, anything else I feel like talking about. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below, and let's get into today's video. So today I have a TikTok from our friend to the channel, Hannah, and she's got some thoughts on self-love, weight loss, and well, why don't we just watch this together and I'll give you my reactions along the way. And be sure to stick around for a bonus TikTok from our friend Tess Holliday.
Miss Tess Roger!
I keep seeing this rhetoric of people saying that they've lost weight and now they love themselves.
Okay, that does sound fairly familiar to what I've gone through, so genuinely curious how that's rhetoric when that's just my experience, but let's see what she has to say about that.
Lost weight, they realise that before they lost weight, they weren't respecting themselves, they weren't putting themselves first, they weren't loving themselves, and now they do, now they've lost the weight.
Okay, it wasn't that I didn't put myself first, or that I wasn't respecting myself, or that I didn't love myself. It was that I wasn't taking care of myself at all. I was using food as a coping skill for literally everything in my life that was out of balance, which at the time was a lot. I wasn't happy at my job. I wasn't happy in my current marriage. I still was grieving the death of my dad and really hadn't faced that at all yet. There was a lot in my life out of balance that I was using food to cope with. So it's not this idea that I wasn't putting myself first. It was that I was literally going about it all in the wrong ways, that I wasn't actually handling my problems. I was just using food to mask them. And then once I lost the weight, I didn't magically just find it. And I gotta say, the woman that I was at 360 pounds, here I am. And I'm immensely proud of this woman. I love this woman very much because I understand that she realized that we deserved better than how I was treating myself at that current moment. And that I deserved a better life than I was living at 360 pounds. I wanted to be able to tie my own shoes again and fit comfortably in my car. I wanted to be able to go shopping and it not be a problem. I wanted to, be able to live long enough to see kids or potential grandkids. And I wasn't sure if that was going to happen the way that I had been taking care of myself to get to 360 pounds. And the one thing I really had to learn to understand and accept while I was rectifying all of this at 360 pounds, that whole time I kept telling myself I loved myself. The whole time I was gaining weight up to 360 pounds, I was telling myself that I loved myself. But I had to understand and accept there's a huge difference between telling yourself and showing yourself. And that was the big difference right there. What led me to 360 pounds was telling myself that I loved myself without holding myself accountable to what I was actually doing. But as long as I kept telling myself that I loved myself and would seek out body positivity or, the fringe of fat acceptance to try to feel better about myself, I really did jump all into, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. But all I was doing was telling myself that. I didn't actually show it. I didn't actually put it into action. And once I started to do that, that's when I actually showed and proved to myself that I do love myself. So I went from it being all talk to it being action. And that was the big difference. I had to hold myself accountable and realize that if I actually do love myself, I have to treat myself that way. I have to do better than what I had done to get to 360 pounds. And it wasn't losing weight that I found the love for myself. It was the fact that I started treating myself better and started taking care of myself better, that I actually proved to myself that I love myself. And that's a big, big difference. Just think of it this way. I could tell you that I love my car. And in one scenario, I wash it, I wax it, I keep it out of the elements, I keep up on the oil changes, I keep up on the maintenance, I don't drive crazy and put myself in any danger or put any mechanical stress on the engine. And I just very much baby that car. And then in another scenario, I take that car and I don't wash it. I leave it out in the elements. I don't change the oil. I don't keep up on maintenance. I drive it like crazy and slam on the brakes and gun the gas and take corners really super fast. And I don't know, maybe kick my car when it doesn't work right. I could tell you that I love my car in both scenarios, but in which scenario am I showing that I love my car? And that's the big difference right there. We can tell ourselves anything that we want, but are we willing to actually put that into action? Are we willing to actually show ourselves and prove to ourselves that we love ourselves? Or are we just talking about it? That was the big thing I had to understand and accept along this journey, that I had to prove to myself, not to anybody else, but to myself. It's the same thing with my races. I can tell myself or anybody else how much I love walking, how much I enjoy doing all of these things. But I wanted to prove it to myself. I wanted to prove it to other people. Because it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to go and do it. And going and doing it actually gives you that sense of accomplishment that is just really hard to come by if you don't do it. So this idea that I wasn't respecting myself and I wasn't putting myself first, that is accurate to some degree. But the idea that I didn't love myself, I definitely told myself I did. But it wasn't until I actually showed and proved to myself that I did, that I actually got to see the results of that.
But what I would say, and what I would challenge, is it sounds like your self-love, your self-respect, your self-worth is conditional on your weight loss, right? And
I literally just said it wasn't that. But
And I'm just going, well, hey, what if that weight were to change again? What if your body were to change again? These things happen all the time. You can't predict the future. Is your self-love that you have discovered via that weight loss, will that diminish if you were to gain weight or if your body was to change again?
I like how she just looked into the camera like it was some sort of gotcha moment, when in reality, I had 2 babies in the middle of my weight loss. My kids are 13 months apart, and yeah, I definitely had to gain weight, and my body completely changed throughout that whole process, not once, but twice in less than 2 years. So yeah, finding that self-love by treating myself better, that didn't go away because my body changed or I gained weight. Now, that being said, I know that in that case, obviously, you're going to have a cute little baby afterwards too. So that makes that go down a lot easier. I will fully admit that. But I also wasn't nervous or apprehensive or worried or scared or anything when it came to that, because I understood the point that I had already gotten to by the time that I got pregnant with my son. So by that point, I was down a good, 140 pounds. So I already knew that I had lost that much weight. So whatever weight I was going to put on while I was pregnant, I knew I could lose it again. And I did, and then got pregnant almost right away again. And then again, didn't freak out, didn't go crazy, just knew that I could do it. And so when I got pregnant with my daughter, I was around 200 pounds or so. And then shortly after she was born, I dropped the last little bit of weight and have been maintaining pretty much ever since. So to that, then I have to say, after maintaining as long as I have, what if your body doesn't change? What if you do make the lifestyle changes and you don't regain the weight? Because some of that almost feels like what they like to do in body positivity and fat acceptance. Well, what if you gain the weight back? I've heard that so many times in these TikToks from so many different creators that it almost starts to feel like a threat after a certain point. And I just have to laugh because I'm just like, but what if you don't? My daughter's about to turn 9, and I've maintained this weight loss pretty much this entire time since she was born. So what if you don't? And if I'm not changing what I'm doing, like the food that I eat and the exercise that I do, the actual, behaviors behind this, if I'm not changing my behaviors behind it, and then all of a sudden I were to start gaining weight, my body did start changing, that's going to set off alarm bells and set off all the red flags that I could think of. Because why would that be happening if I didn't change anything? Especially after all of these years of maintaining this weight loss. So how would I feel about that? I'd be calling my doctor and wondering what was up, quite frankly. And again, it's all based on this supposition that she has that we found this self-love from losing the weight. And it wasn't just a part of the process and from setting goals and achieving them, that it was the weight loss itself that caused us to love ourselves. And again, that just personally is not accurate at all. So
I understand why people find love for themselves after they lose weight, because the social achievement of it all, the social respect, people telling you all the time how great you look. I can imagine that would then become into like, oh my God, I just love that I've done this for myself. I can really, really understand the rhetoric.
It's not rhetoric. It's my lived experience. My life is not rhetoric. And the fact she keeps referring to it as rhetoric, it just really does feel like she's trying to diminish stories like mine. Those of us who have lost weight and are counter to what she is trying to put out there as what we have to do to lose weight or what we must go through to find self-love. It seems like she is purposely trying to diminish that by constantly referring to it as, it seems like she really is trying to diminish it by constantly referring to it as rhetoric. And again, my life is not rhetoric. No one's life is rhetoric. And then, okay, she's tying it back to the social implications that come along with supposedly losing weight, that people are going to notice and comment and compliment you, right? Well, yeah, that happens at first. It also happens when you cut your hair, or you change the way you dress, or you do your makeup in a different way than you normally do, or maybe you just do it really well that day. But you know what happens? After you get that haircut, you don't get compliments every single day about it. After you lose the weight, you don't get compliments every single day about it. Like, I did get a lot of compliments from the people who knew me previously and saw what I had looked like before. But after they had seen me and I still looked the same as the last time they saw me, they didn't comment again. Those comments dry up very quickly after you lose weight, honestly. Most people will make a comment and give you that compliment if you look different from the last time they saw you. But if they see you and you're just maintaining, they usually don't say anything. They're not going to bring that up. They're just going to talk about it if it's a substantial difference from the last time they saw you. So this idea that people are getting this sense of accomplishment from receiving compliments from others negates the sense of accomplishment that you get within your own self just from doing the thing first and foremost. But also, any one of us who have lost the weight and kept it off for any length of time will tell you how quickly that all dries up. It does not last forever. It might be nice while it lasts for some people. Some people don't like the attention. We all kind of feel a little bit differently about it as we lose weight. Personally, I didn't mind it, but after a while, I didn't really always want to talk about it with people, especially like when it was just customers at my job that would bring it up. I didn't always want to talk to people about it. But everybody feels a little bit differently when it comes to these interactions. So this idea that people are doing it for clout chasing or something is just kind of ridiculous to me, because being in it for the long run, those compliments dry up really, really fast. And once again, as is usual for these movements, they don't talk about anything else other than the social implications of things. They're not talking about the behaviors that may have led people to be overweight, or the behaviors that people might partake in losing the weight that might make you feel better. She's not talking about any of those things. She's only talking about the social side of things, yet again, because that seems to be what body positivity and fat acceptance are like laser focused on. The idea that you might get more social clout or something if you lose weight, when that's not even always a desirable thing for people, first and foremost. And again, it dries up fairly quickly once you've maintained that weight loss for any length of time. So I just find it rather ironic that that seems to be what they always want to focus on and just kind of ignore everything else. And it seems like they don't actually want to listen to those of us who have lost weight at all.
But if I just go under the surface of it for just a second, it really isn't sustainable because it's tied to something that could change on a dime, unfortunately.
No, it's called that even if you don't change on a dime, even if you maintain your weight loss for 8, almost 9 years, eventually most of those comments and compliments dry up. And that's okay. Because I never based any of this on the idea that I needed to go chase this social clout or something like that. I did it to improve my life, my quality of life, my health, my lifespan, all of these things. And none of that has anything to do with compliments from other people. So whether or not I get that, or whether or not that aspect of it changes, that doesn't change the good that I have done to my own life and that I can feel and see and get that sense of accomplishment from. So this idea that it's going to change on a dime, yeah, the compliments will dry up. I can definitely attest to that. But unless you change your behavior, if you're doing the things that you did to lose the weight, you'll maintain the weight loss. So this just very much shows me that our friend doesn't understand any aspect of the topic that she is trying to talk about. She's just upset that people talk about losing weight and loving themselves.
Ultimately, your self-worth, self-love, self-respect shouldn't be dependent or shouldn't fluctuate depending on your weight or your body size or body shape. And I'm just getting really tired of hearing this rhetoric of people, achieving weight loss and then finding self-love.
Okay, but here's the thing. Let's really take a look at what led me to be 360 pounds. Because I've mentioned this before and it will always bear repeating because I don't feel like enough people really talk about this on a real level. Because I know I can't be the only one that went through this. I mean, I know that it was bad, and I know it can't be the only one that went through this. And that's my food addiction. At 360 pounds, I was battling every single day with food addiction. And food addiction is up there with any other addiction that can absolutely destroy every single aspect of your life, whether it's illicit substances, alcohol, gambling, shopping. Take your pick. There are so many vices out there that can destroy your life if you reach that point in your addiction. And I definitely did with food. At the height of it, I chose food over literally everything else in my life. I chose food over family, over friends, over paying my bills, over being a responsible adult. In any aspect of my life, I literally found any justification I could to go and spend money on food. And not, oh my gosh, I need to go grocery shopping and I need to actually have food in my house to sustain myself. No, this was fast food. This was junk food. This was me going out and spending money I did not have to spend. So, for example, say I owed $100 on my electric bill, but I had $80 in my bank account. Instead of being a responsible adult and, paying a portion to my electric bill and then paying a little bit more when I got my next paycheck, I would look at that and go, well, I don't have enough money to pay the full way, so well, now I have $80 to spend on food. I guess we're going out to eat tonight. Who cares if my bills get paid? That's not my problem right now. I'll deal with that later. That's future Katie's problem. And I did that so often that eventually I got my electric shut off, I had a vehicle repossessed, and I got kicked out of an apartment. And I just sit there and think to myself, if I were to go back to 360 pounds, after all of these years of maintaining this weight loss, the only way that I know that I could achieve that weight gain again would be to do that same behavior that led me to 360 pounds in the first place. And once again, choosing food above all else. If I did that now and got my electric shut off and had a vehicle taken away and got us kicked out of our home, I mean, when I had that happen 17 years ago, that was bad enough then that a grown adult, I couldn't get my life together. But now I have children that I'm responsible for. And if I ended up back in that same spot, exactly where I was, now with my children in tow and going through that with me, yeah, I would not be happy at all with myself. Can't say I'd be able to look myself in the mirror. And I definitely wouldn't be able to sit there and tell myself how much I love myself while my family and I lost our home because I chose food over paying bills. And that's the thing. I'm not trying to shame myself or blame myself or anything. I'm trying to hold myself accountable because I know what I already went through in my life and I don't want to have to go through that again. It was hard enough to put my life back together and pull myself out of that massive hole I dug myself into. Why on earth would I want to do that twice? And so this idea that my self-love is dependent on the size of my body, that's not at all accurate. Because I understand that there are direct consequences to my actions and that my behavior dictates what my body size ends up as. So if all of a sudden, again, if nothing in my life changes and I end up putting on a bunch of weight, I'm going to understand that I didn't change my behavior. And I'm going to call the doctor because something clearly must be wrong. Because there is absolutely no way I would willingly ever put myself through that again. And it's not because I want to chase the social clout or because people are going to be nicer to me or anything like that. But because I don't want to take years of my life rebuilding my life yet again. That just seems so counterintuitive.
Because it makes it sound that the only way to truly love yourself is to lose weight, is this idea of putting yourself first, respecting your body enough to lose weight, which is just not everyone's goal.
Okay, then she can say that that's not her goal. But for her to make all these assumptions about those of us who have lost weight, our friend knows exactly what she's doing. And she tries to say what we're doing is rhetoric. That's exactly what she's doing. She is misrepresenting this whole situation and making false assumptions about all of this because she doesn't want to make that a priority in her life. And that is her decision. But then to put that and project that onto other people, that's why we must do it because we must have hated ourselves so much that was the only way we could have ever found self-love was to lose weight. It's so disingenuous at this point. It's nothing more than a whole bunch of false assumptions wrapped up in a trench coat trying to get in the movie theater. I'm not buying it, but I guess if she really wants to, I suppose she can. But she won't admit that it's not a priority for her. She'll just try to tear down anyone else who has lost weight and then says that they love themselves.
And it's just getting really harmful to frame it that way. I think we should be preaching true self-respect, self-worth, and value is not dependent on weight. Like,
for her. Again, she is projecting all of this onto everybody else that this is true self-worth and true self-value. Is she the gatekeeper of it? Is she the arbiter of it? And I was just unaware of it? Do I have to go leave something at the altar of self-love and acceptance that she deems worthy? I mean, I'm genuinely confused because that is a statement she can make for herself. Just like I can make all the statements I wish to about myself because it's my life and my experience, just like anyone else who has lost weight and wishes to share their experience. She is not the arbiter or the gatekeeper of what is true. That is just... I just wish she would be honest and say it's not a priority for her. That she was able to find self-love without doing that. And if that's the case, more power to her. Truly, I personally could not do it. It was the difference between, again, telling myself versus showing myself and proving to myself that I actually did. Not just telling myself.
Obviously, but obviously not obviously, I'm seeing it all the time on this app. I saw it on a thing on BBC iPlayer literally the other day. So it's fucking everywhere at the moment.
So if she's seeing it everywhere, clearly it must be wrong. There couldn't be a kernel of truth to it anywhere, could there? Clearly, it's the children who are wrong. My goodness, the amount of projection that just came out of that singular TikTok right there, when all our friend had to say is that's not how I found self-love for myself. And she could actually tell people how she did, but instead, She made a whole bunch of false assumptions about why people choose to lose weight, how they found self-love doing so, and then basically tried to crown herself the arbiter of value and respect, like she can define that for anyone else other than herself. When I really wish our friend and, well, this group in general would stop projecting so much on other people, especially other people who have actually achieved the thing. There's a big difference between having experienced something and maybe experiencing it in a different way than someone else and saying, hey, we had different experiences, but neither one is more or less valid. We just had different experiences. As opposed to not experiencing it and then telling the group that did experience it that the way that they did it was wrong and not valid, essentially. And it just feels like our friend is projecting that this is the only way you can actually love yourself, is to just accept yourself no matter what. And if you attempt to change yourself in any fashion, clearly you don't ever do it from a place of love. Where I know for myself, the decision to lose weight all came from a place of love. Love for myself, love for my life, love for my quality of life, and wishing to see it improve. But maybe that's just me. Let's go ahead and take a look at this bonus TikTok with our friend Tess Holliday.
So I wanted to share something that happened today because it was just absolutely freaking ridiculous, and I had every reason to just go back to bed, pull the covers over my head, and just say goodnight.
Oh man, did she get abducted by aliens or something? It's absolutely freaking ridiculous. Wow, I wonder what it could have possibly been.
My son has been sick for a week, so he hasn't been able to go to school. Today was the first day that he was feeling better, and it's Valentine's Day, right? My favorite national holiday. So I go to take him to school. I go in my car, and it won't turn on. It won't start.
I hope there's more to it, because I think that's pretty common. I think a lot of us have probably gone out to our car and had issues with it starting at some point or another. Or at least, I don't know, maybe I've just driven a lot of really shitty cars over the years, because I don't know, that's happened quite frequently. Actually, my very first car that I had and kept for a long time, my Ford Tempo, I had a problem where the battery terminals wouldn't connect properly. They would get corroded all the time. And I'd have to tear apart my battery and clean the terminals and put everything back together and then reset all my radio stations. It was a pain in the ass, but not freaking ridiculous. And, I wasn't able to go back and put the covers over my head and say goodnight, but I don't know. Maybe it picks up. Maybe the aliens show up at some point.
Don't ever get a Jeep. My Jeep was my dream car, but just don't get a Jeep, because it's been issue after issue after issue with my little baby, and her and I are about to part ways because I'm over her and her freaking salty attitude.
Okay, so it sounds like our friend didn't research Jeeps whatsoever, because gosh, I've known for 30 years Jeeps are completely unreliable. They might look cool, they might be fun in certain aspects. Believe me, at one point I did have a Jeep Wrangler. Really fun, no lie, driving with the top down and the doors off and all that. Yeah, great. Gas mileage is horrible, reliability is shit. It's a money pit. Every single person I've ever known who's had a Jeep is yeah, they might be cool, but they're completely unreliable. So, I'm just genuinely curious, did our friend even research the car before she purchased it? Because that's the number one thing you can find out about Jeeps, is that they're unreliable.
But that's beside the point. So, well, actually, no, that is part of the point. Then while I'm sitting in my Jeep and it's not starting, I get a message that a job that I was working on, they weren't they didn't love the creative that I sent over. So I had to switch it last minute, and I wanted to just go back to bed. And I just told myself, no, I'm going to push through. I don't even care.
So her car wouldn't start, and she got an email she had to respond to. And that was enough to make her want to go back to bed. Is our friend so far removed from normal life, what all the rest of us have to deal with on a routine basis, that was enough that she can't handle that? I'm at a loss for words. I mean, I'm literally thinking about some of the more stressful days that I've had at some of the jobs that I've had over the years. And let's see, I was robbed at gunpoint. Still had to finish out my shift that day. Because, again, could not afford to take any hours off of work. Let's see, we had fights out in the dining room at McDonald's to where, like, they literally destroyed part of my dining room and still had to finish out my shift. Ooh, we had the night that somebody drove their car into the building and I still had to finish out my shift. We had the night that, we had a tweaker come in the bathroom and basically he had like blown out his nose and was bleeding all over my entire men's bathroom and like got it on the floor, the walls, the ceiling somehow, all over the toilets, the urinals, the sink. Like, I don't even have any understanding of what happened in that bathroom. I literally don't. All I know is I had to clean it up, or actually I delegated who cleaned it up, but had to make sure it was done properly and all of these things. And again, still had to finish out my shift, as did everybody else that was at that restaurant that night. Like, this whole thing, woe is me. Oh my God, my car won't start. Like, that happens to so many people. So many people. And they're not able to just go back to bed and start their day over or something like that. I understand it being a frustration, but it also just feels like our friend is so incredibly removed from reality that minor inconveniences are enough to take her out right now. And I have to be honest, knowing that she is a public figure and potential employers, could be watching this.
My car's still sitting out there, not working, but what can I do? I can't do anything.
There are things she could be doing. She could call a repair shop. She could call a tow truck. She could watch a YouTube tutorial or get a Haynes manual and try to troubleshoot what's actually going on with her vehicle. It could be something simple like a battery terminal, like what I had going on with mine, and she'd be up on the road in like 2 minutes. She said she could part ways with her baby. She could go to a dealership and go trade it in if it's that big of a problem. Like, she's got options. There's a big difference between having options and choosing not to take them versus not even having the options to begin with. Like, personally, we couldn't go trade in a car and just go buy a new one if we wanted to. We're not in a financial position to do that. Most people, I don't think, are right now. But she just said she is. So there are things she could obviously be doing if she wanted to. But she's making the choice not to.
What I did do was come in here and slap some makeup on this gorgeous mug. And
according to TikTok, she also has at least one filter on that I'm aware of. And if she edited this video using another editor, she could have slapped more filters on there too. So, I mean, I don't know. I just find that really funny, especially since TikTok does tell you what filters are used.
It gave them a new creative and knocked it out of the park. So that's on resilience, and that's just what we have to do. That's the energy that we have to have.
That's not resilience. That's not resilience. It's just called being an adult. Like, does she want a pat on the back for being an adult and dealing with the same kind of crap that we all have to deal with every day? And we don't have the option of going back to bed and pretending like we can start our day over or something?
This year, because there's so much BS that is flying at us left, right, and center, and we just have to stay on our shit and just stay focused and be a hottie. So yeah.
Okay, there we are. So evidently, if you have 2 minor inconveniences in your day, you can be over dramatic about it and then tell everyone just how resilient you are and how you're staying on your shit. So there we have it. Evidently, no aliens. Dang. I was really hoping for that. But maybe that's just me. Let me know down in the comments below. What do you think? I'm genuinely curious and I love reading all of your responses. That is where we will leave things today. I thank you so much for joining me. Please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I will catch you all in the next one. Bye. Hi, sweetheart. Are you excited? The Cavs are starting back up after the All-Star break. Yeah, are you excited? I know I'm excited. Although, maybe it's just me, but could they stop messing with the All-Star game? I really did not care for the format at all this year. Could we just go back to East versus West? The Cavs had 3 All-Stars, and they weren't even all on the same squad. 2 of them were, and then Donovan Mitchell was on a different squad. Like, it was so silly. Like, we wanted to see all of them play together. East versus West. What happened? This was not it. I really wish they would just stop messing with All-Star games and Pro Bowls and everything else. It just either do it or don't. Don't give us this convoluted skills crap and these squad games. That was dumb. There was so much less basketball, but yet a longer run time. Nah. I'd rather watch an old school East versus West matchup personally, but bye.